understand it. Make a noise and make you clear. We're not gonna sit in silence. We're not gonna live with fear.
Welcome to Conk's Corner with me, John Reedsley, aka John Voth. Mark's here,
Yo.
Dexter's here. Yo! Dexter's here. And I've decided I'm just going to play whatever music I want at the beginning. It's not going to be always Harry Potter related. Who was first this time? Who was first? It was Mark!
It was me.
Mark was first! He was
in a
first!
row.
Oh man. I decided to go 70s or something today. Welcome. I am reading... I'm going to put this throw me off here. Okay, put on some Harry Potter music again. I am reading Harry Potter every single day for 1 hour. And I'm doing it just because I want to, and I want to connect to people and just read to people. I love it. Should I crochet or paint tonight? Oh, crochet! Yeah, do that. I'm down with that. I am doing this for 1 hour, as I said. I've never read the books. I've only seen 2 of the movies when I was younger. Don't remember much from them. I think there's the first 2 movies. I read all the comments afterwards, so don't spoil anything. Don't hint at anything. I don't want to know. I wouldn't be surprised by it. I leave Q&A session at the end, interaction session, so if you want to ask questions, go to the cards at the bottom and submit there. I save all these on YouTube, so you can catch up on there as well. Shout out to the healthcare workers. We got Alana Wright, Janelle, Carmen, and Kendall sometimes in the same room. Lawrence Belmare, Darren Weeb, Katrina Joy, Sarah Popta, Jess XX, Crocodile, Courtney Jane, and Crystal Stalcy or Stalcy, I don't know. But thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for saving lives while we do nothing. Okay, so right now, where we ended up, we're on page 180 in this book. And what just happened? He just fought Dementor 3 times. Really a boggart, pretending to be a Dementor. And if you're just tuning in, I wouldn't know what all this stuff would be either. But here we go. We're on page 180. Going to go ahead. Ravenclaw played Slytherin a week after the start of term. Slytherin won, though narrowly. According to Wood, this was good news for Gryffindor, who would take second place if they beat Ravenclaw too. He therefore increased the number of team practices to 5 a week. This meant that with Lupin's anti-Dementor classes, which in themselves were more draining than 6 Quidditch practices, Harry had just 1 night a week to do all his homework. Even so, he wasn't showing the strain nearly as much as Hermione, whose immense workload finally seemed to be getting to her. Harry's like the jock of this world. Harry's the jock of this world. He's like the quarterback of the team. Everybody loves him. Super famous. Even so, he wasn't showing the strain nearly as much as Hermione, whose immense workload finally seemed to be getting to her. Every night, without fail, Hermione was to be seen in a corner of the common room, several tables spread with books, arithmetic charts, rune dictionaries, diagrams of muggles lifting heavy objects, and file upon file of extensive notes. She barely spoke to anybody, and snapped when she was interrupted. "How's she doing it?" Ron muttered to Harry one evening, as Harry sat finishing a nasty essay on undetectable poisons for Snape. Harry looked up. Hermione was barely visible behind a tottering pile of books. Jordan asked me, John, what would your boggart turn into? It would be you, naked. Doing what? Doing what? Getting to all her classes, Ron said. I heard her talking to Professor Vector, that arithmancy witch, this morning. They were going on about yesterday's lesson, but Hermione can't have been there because she was with us, in care of magical creatures. And Ernie Macmillan told me she's never missed a Muggle study class, but half of them are at the same time as divination, and she's never missed one of them either. Harry didn't have time to fathom the mystery of Hermione's impossible timetable at the moment. He really needed to get on with Snape's essay. 2 seconds later, however, he was interrupted again, this time by Wood. Bad news, Harry. I've just been to see Professor McGonagall about the firebolt. She got a bit shirty with me. Told me I'd got my priorities wrong. Seemed to think I cared more about winning the cup than I do about you staying alive. Just because I told her I didn't care if it threw you off, as long as you caught the snitch on it first. Wood shook his head in disbelief. Honestly, the way she was yelling at me, you'd think I'd said something terrible. Am I doing a different accent? I feel like I am.
No, you got it.
Then I asked her how much longer she was going to keep it. He screwed up his face and imitated Professor McGonagall's severe voice. As long as necessary, Wood. I reckon it's time you ordered a new broom, Harry. There's an order form at the back of which broomstick. You could get a Nimbus 2001, like Malfoy's got. I'm not buying anything Malfoy thinks is good, said Harry flatly. Question for you. What's the most ridiculous thing you have ever bought online or anywhere else? January faded imperceptibly into February, with no change in the bitterly cold weather. The match against Ravenclaw was drawing nearer and nearer, but Harry still hadn't ordered a new broom. He was now asking Professor McGonagall for news of the firebolt after every Transfiguration lesson, Ron standing hopefully at his shoulder, Hermione rushing past with her face averted. No, Potter, you can't have it back yet, Professor McGonagall told him the 12th time this happened, before he'd even opened his mouth. We've checked for most of the usual curses, but Professor Flitwick believes the broom might be carrying a hurling hex. I shall tell you once we finish checking it. Now please stop badgering me. To make matters even worse, Harry's anti-Dementor lessons were not going nearly as well as he'd hoped. Several sessions on, he was able to produce an indistinct silvery shadow every time the boggart Dementor approached him, but his Patronus was too feeble to drive the Dementor away. Oh, so something comes out of his wand, but he's not able to actually make it powerful enough to push it away. Okay. All it did was hover like a semi-transparent cloud, draining Harry of energy as he fought to keep it there. Harry felt angry with himself, guilty about his secret desire to hear his parents' voice again. Okay, a little tidbit for me that hasn't been really revealed yet. It drains him of energy to keep something there, so it's not them just saying some kind of spell and it coming out. I mean, like, there it is, there's that magical thing I mastered. It's a reserve of energy they're putting through the wand into something. Mana. Harry felt angry with himself, guilty about his secret desire to hear his parents' voices again. You're expecting too much of yourself, said Professor Lupin sternly in their 4th week of practice. For a 13-year-old wizard, even an indistinct Patronus is a huge achievement. You aren't passing out anymore, are you? I thought a Patronus would charge the Dementors down or something, said Harry dispiritedly. Make them disappear. The true Patronus does do that, said Lupin, but you've achieved a great deal in a very short space of time. If the Dementors put in an appearance at your next Quidditch match, you will be able to keep them at bay long enough to get back to the ground. You said it's harder if there are loads of them, said Harry. I have complete confidence in you, said Lupin, smiling. Here, you've earned a drink. Something from the 3 broomsticks. You won't have tried it before. Oh, he pulled 2 bottles out of his briefcase. Butterbeer, said Harry without thinking. Yeah, I like that stuff. Lupin raised an eyebrow. Ron and Hermione brought me some back from Hogsmeade, Harry lied quickly. I see, said Lupin, though he still looked slightly suspicious. Well, let's drink to a Gryffindor victory against Ravenclaw. Not that I'm supposed to take sides. As a teacher, he added hastily. They drank the butterbeer in silence, until Harry voiced something he'd been wondering for a while. What's under a Dementor's hood? Professor Lupin lowered his bottle thoughtfully. Well, the only people who really know are in no condition to tell us. You see, the Dementor only lowers its hood to use its last and worst weapon. What's that? They call it the Dementor's kiss, said Lupin with a slightly twisted smile. It's what Dementors do to those they wish to destroy utterly. I suppose there must be some kind of mouth under there, because they clamp their jaws upon the mouth of the victim and suck out his soul. Yikes. Harry accidentally spat out a bit of butterbeer. What? All over my computer. What? They kill? Oh, no, said Lupin. Much worse than that. You can exist without your soul, you know, as long as your brain and heart are still working. But you'll have no sense of self anymore. No memory, no anything. There's no chance at all of recovery. You'll just exist as an empty shell, and your soul is gone forever. Lost. Oh man, my computer. No, it's so idiotic what I just did. I think it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Lupin drank a little more butterbeer, then said, "It's the fate that awaits Sirius Black. It was in the Daily Prophet this morning. The Ministry have given the Dementors permission to perform it if they find him." No moist talking. That's so true. Sorry, Dad. Harry sat stunned for a moment. Okay, so the Dementors are after Sirius Black. But they're also after Harry. Mark and I were talking yesterday how this book is totally a thriller because he's being constantly, from the very beginning, by the dog and then by Sirius Black and kind of by the Dementors too, constantly being stalked or followed by something that appears and represents danger. So last book was a whodunit. This book is a thriller. So I'm interested to see what the next book's going to be modeled after. Harry sat stunned for a moment at the idea of someone having their soul sucked out through their mouth. But then he thought of Black. "He deserves it," he said suddenly. "You think so?" said Lupin lightly. "Do you really think anyone deserves that?" "Yes," said Harry defiantly. For some things." He would have liked to have told Lupin about the conversation he'd overheard about Black and the Three Broomsticks, about Black betraying his mother and father, but it would have involved revealing that he'd gone to Hogsmeade without permission, and he knew Lupin wouldn't be very impressed by that. So he finished his butterbeer, thanked Lupin, and left the History of Magic classroom. Harry half wished that he hadn't asked what was under a Dementor's hood. The answer had been so horrible, and he was so lost in unpleasant thoughts of what it would feel like to have your soul sucked out of you, that he walked headlong into Professor McGonagall, halfway up the stairs. "Do watch where you're going, Potter." "Sorry, Professor. I've just been looking for you in the Gryffindor common room." "Well, here it is. We've done everything we could think of, and there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with it after all. You've got a very good friend somewhere, Potter." Harry's jaw dropped. She was holding out his firebolt, and it looked as magnificent as ever. I can have it back," Harry said weakly. "Seriously?" "Seriously," said Professor McGonagall, and she was actually smiling. "I dare say you will need to get the feeling of it before Saturday's match, won't you? And Potter, do try and win, won't you? Or we'll be out of the running for the 8th year in a row, as Professor Snape was kind enough to remind me only last night." Speechless, Harry carried the firebolt back upstairs toward Gryffindor Tower. As he turned a corner, he saw Ron dashing towards him, grinning from ear to ear. She gave it to you! She gave it to you! Excellent! Listen, can I still have a go on it? Tomorrow? Yeah. Anything, said Harry, his heart lighter than it had been in a month. You know what? We should make it up with Hermione. She was only trying to help. Yeah, all right, said Ron. She's in the common room now, working for a change. They turned into the corridor to Gryffindor Tower and saw Neville Longbottom pleading with Sir Cadogan, who seemed to be refusing him entrance. I wrote them down, Neville was saying tearfully, but I must have dropped them somewhere. A likely tale, roared Sir Cadogan. He just makes me laugh so much. I love him so much. He's so funny. Then, spotting Harry and Ron, good even, my fine young yeoman. Come clap this loon in irons. He is trying to force entry to the chambers within. Oh, shut up, said Ron, as he and Harry drew level with Neville. I've lost the passwords, Neville told him miserably. I made him tell me what passwords he was going to use this week, because he keeps changing them. Now I don't know what I've done with them. Oddsbodikins. said Harry to Sir Cadogan, who looked extremely disappointed and reluctantly swung forwards to let them into the common room. There was a sudden, excited murmur as every head turned, and the next moment Harry was surrounded by people exclaiming over his firebolt. "Where'd you get it, Harry?" Will you let me have a go? Have you beaten it yet, Harry? Ravenclaw'll have no chance. They're all on clean sweep sevens. Can I just hold it, Harry? After 10 minutes or so, during which the firebolt was passed around and admired from every angle, the crowd dispersed and Harry and Ron had a clear view of Hermione, the only person who hadn't rushed over to them, bent over her work and carefully avoiding their eyes. Harry and Ron approached her table, and at last she looked up. "I got it back," said Harry, grinning at her and holding up the firebolt. "See, Hermione? There wasn't anything wrong with it," said Ron. "Well, there might have been," said Hermione. "I mean, at least you know that it's safe." "Yeah, I suppose so," said Harry. "I'd better put it upstairs." "I'll take it," said Ron eagerly. "I've got to give Scabbers his rat tonic." He took the firebolt and, holding it as if it were made of glass, carried it away up the boys' staircase. "Can I sit down then?" Harry asked Hermione. "I suppose so," said Hermione, moving a great stack of parchment off a chair. Harry looked around at the cluttered table, at the long arithmancy essay on which the ink was still glistening, at the even longer Muggle Studies essay, Explain Why Muggles Need Electricity, and at the rune translation Hermione was now poring over. How are you getting on? How are you getting through all this stuff?" "Oh, well, you know, working hard," said Hermione. Close to Harry saw that she. Oh, okay, now I get it. Close to, Harry saw that she looked almost as tired as Lupin. "Why don't you just drop a couple of subjects?" Harry asked, watching her lifting books as she searched for her rune dictionary. "I couldn't do that," said Hermione, looking scandalized. "Arithmancy looks terrible," said Harry, picking up a very complicated-looking number chart. "Oh no, it's wonderful," said Hermione earnestly. "It's my favorite subject. But exactly what was wonderful about arithmancy, Harry never found out. At that precise moment, a strangled yell echoed down the boys' staircase. The whole common room fell silent, staring, petrified, at the entrance. There came hurried footsteps, growing louder and louder, and then Ron came leaping into view, dragging with him a bedsheet. "Look!" he yellowed, striding over to Hermione's table. "Look!" he yelled, shaking the sheets in her face. "Ron, what?" "Scabbers! Look! Scabbers!" Hermione was leaning away from Ron, looking utterly bewildered. Harry looked down at the sheet Ron was holding. There was something red on it. That something looked horribly like... "Blood!" Ron yelled in a stunned silence. "He's gone! And you know what was on the floor!" "No," said Hermione in a trembling voice. Ron threw something down on Hermione's rune translation. Hermione and Harry leaned forward. Lying on the top of the weird spiky shapes were several long ginger cat hairs. I think this is a red herring. This has not happened. I still don't confirm or deny it, but I still think that Scabbers is that large dog creature. I still think so. That's my theory. And I shall be right. Okay, question for you. Dex is bored again. Dex has Petrificus Totalis. You nerd. Okay. What's an interesting fact that you know that I wouldn't know? Something interesting and fun. Chapter 13, Gryffindor versus Ravenclaw. A quick gulp of water before I start off again. It looked like the end of Ron and Hermione's friendship. Each was so angry with the other that Harry couldn't see how they'd ever make it up. Ron was enraged that Hermione had never taken Crookshanks's attempts to eat Scabbers seriously, hadn't bothered to keep a close enough watch on him, and was still trying to pretend that Crookshanks was innocent by suggesting Ron look for Scabbers under all the boys' beds. Hermione, meanwhile, maintained fiercely that Ron had no proof that Crookshanks had eaten Scabbers, that the ginger hairs might have been there since Christmas, and that Ron had been prejudiced against her cat ever since Crookshanks had landed on Ron's head in the magical menagerie. Personally, Harry was sure that Crookshanks had eaten Scabbers, and when he tried to point out to Hermione that the evidence all pointed that way, she lost her temper with Harry too. "Okay, side with Ron. I knew you would," she said shrilly. "First the firebolt, now Scabbers. Everything's my fault, isn't it? Just leave me alone, Harry. I've got a lot of work to do." Ron had taken the loss of his rat very hard indeed. Fred, okay. "Come on, Ron. You were always saying how boring Scabbers was," said Fred bracingly. "And he's been off colour for ages. He was wasting away. It was probably better for him to snuff it out quickly. One swallow, he probably didn't feel a thing." "Oh, Fred," said Ginny indignantly. "All he did was eat and sleep, Ron. You said it yourself," said George. He bit Goyle for us once," Ron said miserably. "Remember, Harry?" "Yeah, that's true," said Harry. "His finest hour," said Fred, unable to keep a straight face. "Let the scar on Goyle's finger stand as a lasting tribute to his memory. Come on, Ron. Get yourself down to Hogsmeade and buy a new rat. What's the point of moaning?" In a last-ditch attempt to cheer Ron up, Harry persuaded him to come along to the Gryffindor's team's final practice before the Ravenclaw match, so that he could have a go on the firebolt after they'd finished. The medical term for the sound your stomach makes when you're hungry is borborygmi. Borborygmi. I love that. Oh man, my stomach's totally borborygmi. This did seem to take Ron's mind off Scabbers for a moment. "Brilliant! Can I try and shoot a few goals on it?" So they set off to the Quidditch pitch together. Madam Hooch, who was still overseeing Gryffindor practices to keep an eye on Harry, was just as impressed with the firebolt as everyone else had been. She took it in her hands before takeoff and gave them the benefit of her professional opinion. Look at the balance on it! If the Nimbus series has a fault, it's a slight list to the tail end. You often find they develop a drag after a few years. They've updated the handle too, a bit slimmer than the clean sweeps. Reminds me of the old silver arrows. Oh wait, how was that her voice?
Who?
Madam Hooch, the coach.
Oh.
Or was she like deeper and husky?
She's like loud and domineering.
Yeah, maybe she's down here. They've updated the handle too. No, that doesn't sound like her at all. I'll stick with that unless I get some suggestions. They've updated the handle too. A bit slimmer than the clean sweeps. Reminds me of the old silver arrows. A pity they've stopped making them. I learned to fly on one, and a very fine old broom it was too. She continued on in this vein for some time, until Wood said, Madam Hooch, is it okay if Harry has the firebolt back? Only we need to practice. Oh, right. Here you are then, Potter, said Madam Hooch. I'll sit over here with Weasley. Oh, you know what? I've started that spreadsheet like 3 times. I just need to like block out probably half an hour, 45 minutes to do this spreadsheet. My gosh. She and Ron left the pitch to sit in the stadium, and the Gryffindor team gathered around Wood for his final instructions for tomorrow's match. Harry, I've just found out who Ravenclaw are playing as Seeker. It's Cho Chang. She's a 4th year and she's pretty good. I really hoped she wouldn't be fit. She's had some problems with injuries. Wood scowled his displeasure that Cho Chang had made a full recovery, then said, on the other hand, she rides a Comet 260, which is going to look like a joke next to the firebolt. He gave Harry's broom a look of fervent admiration, then said, okay, everyone, let's go. And at long last, Harry mounted his firebolt and kicked off from the ground. Wait, okay, it was better than he'd ever dreamed. The firebolt turned with the slightest touch. It seemed to obey his thoughts rather than his grip. It sped across the pitch at such speed that the stadium turned into a green and gray blur. Harry turned it so sharply that Alicia Spinnet screamed that he went into a perfectly controlled dive, brushing the grassy pitch with his toes before rising 30, 40, 50 feet into the air again. Harry, I'm letting the snitch out, Wood called. Harry turned and raced a bludger towards the goalposts. He outstripped it easily, saw the snitch dart out from behind Wood, and within 10 seconds had caught it lightly in his hands. Yeah, Dan. It's a jam-packed schedule I got going on here. So busy. The team cheered madly. Harry had let the snitch go again, gave it a minute's head start, then tore after it, weaving in and out of the others. He spotted it lurking near Katie Bell's knee, looped her easily, and caught it again. It was the best practice ever. The team, inspired by the presence of the firebolt in their midst, performed their best moves faultlessly. And by the time they hit the ground again, Wood didn't have a single criticism to make, which, as George Weasley pointed out, was a first. I can't see what's going to stop us tomorrow, said Wood. Not unless, Harry, you've sorted your Dementor problem, haven't you? Yeah, said Harry, thinking of his feeble Patronus and wishing it was stronger. The Dementors won't turn up again, Oliver. Dumbledore would do his nut. What? What kind of saying is that? Dumbledore would do his nut? Not gonna comment on that. Besides, oh.
Come on.
Said Fred confidently. Oh. Oh. Well, let's hope not. Yeah, said Wood. Anyway, good work, everyone. Let's get back to the tower. Turn in early. I'm staying up for a bit. Ron wants to go on the firebolt, Harry told Wood. Oh, where am I? There we go. I need to blow my nose again. There we go. Harry told Wood. And while the rest of the team headed off to the changing rooms, Harry strode over to Ron, who vaulted the barrier to the stands and came to meet him. Madame Hooch had fallen asleep in her seat. Here you go, said Harry, handing Ron the firebolt. Ron, an expression of ecstasy on his face, oh! mounted the broom and zoomed off into the gathering darkness while Harry walked around the edge of the pitch, watching him. Night had fallen before... we didn't need to get that image. Night had fallen before Madame Hooch awoke with a start, told Harry and Ron off for not waking her, and insisted they go back to the castle. Harry shouldered the firebolt, and he and Ron walked out of the shadowy stadium, discussing the firebolt's superbly smooth action, its phenomenal acceleration, and its pinpoint turning. They were halfway towards the castle when Harry, glancing to his left, saw something that made his heart turn over, a pair of eyes gleaming out of the darkness. Hey, Scabbers. Hey, Scabbers. I know it's you, Scabbers. Harry stopped dead, his heart banging against his ribs. What's the matter? Said Ron. Harry pointed. Do you have a name for that nose blow? I'm actually going to refer to Jack Wanan. She works in the medical field. Is there anything, is there a medical term you can make up for blowing your nose like that? Harry pointed. Ron pulled out his wand and muttered, Lumos! A beam of light fell across the grass, hit the bottom of a tree, and illuminated its branches. There, crouching amongst the budding leaves, was Crookshanks. Get out of it! Ron roared, and he stooped down and seized a stone lying on the grass. Whoa, Ron! But before he could do anything else, Crookshanks had vanished with one swish of his long, ginger tail. See? Ron said furiously, chucking the stone down again. He's still letting him wander about wherever he wants. Probably washing down Scabbers with a couple of birds now. Harry didn't say anything. He took a deep breath as relief seeped through him. He had been sure for a moment that those eyes had belonged to the Grim. Or maybe it's Crookshanks. Oh, it could be Crookshanks. Okay, well, we'll see. But that's also red herring. She wouldn't give the answer beforehand and be like, oh, it kind of looked like Crookshanks. No, it's still Scabbers. It's Scabbers. They set off for the castle once more. Slightly ashamed of his moment of panic, Harry didn't say anything to Ron, nor did he look left or right until they had reached the well-lit entrance hall. Harry went down to breakfast next morning with the rest of the boys in his dormitory, all of who seemed to think the firebolt deserved a sort of guard of honor. As Harry entered the great hall, heads turned in the direction of the firebolt, and there was a good deal of excited muttering. Harry saw with enormous satisfaction that the Slytherin team were all looking thunderstruck. "Did you see his face?" said Ron gleefully, looking back at Malfoy. "You can't believe it. This is brilliant." Wood, too, was basking in the reflected glory of the firebolt. "Put it here, Harry," he said, laying the broom in the middle of the table and carefully turning it so that its name faced upwards. People from the Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff tables were soon coming over to look. Cedric Diggory came over to... Who's that again? Remind me, please, who Cedric Diggory is. I forget. Oh, he's the captain. We haven't, had his voice at all. I don't think yet. He's the Hufflepuff captain, I think. Yeah, let me know. Cedric Diggory came over to congratulate Harry on having acquired such a superb replacement for his Nimbus, and Percy's Ravenclaw girlfriend, Penelope Clearwater. Penelope,
John.
No, from now on she's Penelope.
God.
She's Penelope, and she cannot pronounce things properly. That's going to be her voice. Penelope Clearwater asked if she could actually hold the firebolt. Okay, so what's Percy. But give me some adjectives for Cedric, anyways, please.
Hunky Hufflepuff.
Oh, hunky Hufflepuff. Yeah.
Humble
Dreamboat. Okay, great. Now, Penny, no sabotage, said... hardly. Now, Penny, no sabotage, said Percy hardly, as she examined the firebolt closely. Penelope and I have got a bet on, he told the team. 10 galleons on the outcome of the match. Penelope put it's going to be so hard to maintain.
Say Penelope.
No, I will not, Mark. I will keep it as is. Penelope put the firebolt down again, thanked Harry, and went back to her table. "Harry, make sure you win," said Percy in an urgent whisper. "I haven't got 10 galleons. Yes, I'm coming, Penny." Wait, so Percy's Raven... Okay, Percy and Penelope. Gotcha. They're together. Cedric is basically loved by anybody. And he bustled off to join her in a piece of toast. Draco Malfoy. "Sure you can manage that broom, Potter," said a cold, drawling voice. Draco Malfoy had arrived for a closer look. Crabbe and Goyle right behind him. "Yeah, I reckon so," said Harry casually. "Got plenty of special features, hasn't it?" said Malfoy, eyes glittering maliciously. "Shame it doesn't come with a parachute, in case you get too near a Dementor." Crabbe and Goyle sniggered. "Shut up!" Oh. That's what I imagine happening every time. "Shut up!" Pity you can't attach an extra arm to yours, Malfoy," said Harry. Then it could catch a snitch for you."
Damn.
Harry with the disses. Adjective, gorgeous. Okay, he's gorgeous. Okay. The Gryffindor team laughed loudly. Malfoy's pale eyes narrowed and he stalked away. They watched him rejoin the rest of the Slytherin team, who put their heads together, no doubt asking Malfoy whether Harry's broom really was a firebolt. At 11:15, the Gryffindor team set off for the changing rooms. The weather couldn't have been more different from their match against Hufflepuff. It was a clear, cool day with a very light breeze. There would be no visibility problems this time, and Harry, though nervous, was starting to feel the excitement only a Quidditch match could bring. They could hear the rest of the school moving into the stadium beyond. Harry took off his black school robes, removed his wand from his pocket, and stuck it inside the t-shirt he was going to wear under his Quidditch robes. He only hoped he wouldn't need it. He wondered suddenly whether Professor Lupin was in the crowd, watching. Oh, it's gonna go down. Okay, this is already pretty intense because I know something's gonna happen with the Dementors. They're gonna float in, gonna create some kind of turbulence. But this is only the third book, and she's had to kind of ramp up what happens at Quidditch matches every book. So I'm wondering what she's gonna be doing in book 4, 5, and 6. All of a sudden, there's like giants crushing kids around the stadium, and he's like, "Ah, get away, giants!" Or like, how is he gonna up it from this? He's probably gonna be He's probably going to be poisoned one of the times. He's going to try flying because he's been poisoned trying to maintain. There's going to be... I bet one of them's going to have illusions of other Quidditch players or something where you can't tell who's who. What else could happen? Oh, somebody's going to be in danger while he's flying about. So he said think about protecting that person and being in a Quidditch match at the same time. Yeah, those are a couple of my predictions of how he's going to update it. She's going to update it. He wondered suddenly whether Professor Lupin was in the crowd, watching. "You know what we've got to do," said Wood, as they prepared to leave the changing rooms. "If we lose this match, we're out of the running. Just fly like you did in practice yesterday, and we'll be okay." They walked out onto the pitch to tumultuous applause. The Ravenclaw team, dressed in blue, were already standing in the middle of the pitch. Their seeker, Cho Chang, was the only girl in their team. She was shorter than Harry by about a head. And, oh, look at him. Harry couldn't help noticing, nervous as he was, that she was extremely pretty. Oh, hello, Harry. What is going on? Yeah. She smiled at Harry as the teams faced each other behind their captains. And he felt a slight jolt in the region of his stomach that he didn't think had anything to do with nerves. Oh! Harry, what are you doing off your... He's like half off his bed lying down. Get back here. Get back here, Dexty. Yeah. There's a little jolt in his nether regions. "Wood, Davies, shake hands," Madam Hooch said briskly, and Wood shook hands with the Ravenclaw captain. "Mount your brooms. On my whistle. 3, 2, 1. Harry kicked off into the air, and the firebolt zoomed higher and faster than any other broom. He soared around the stadium and began squinting around for the snitch, listening all the while to the commentary, which was being provided by the Weasleys' twin friend, Lee Jordan. Oh, that was the... Yeah, okay. They're off, and the big excitement this match is the firebolt, which Harry Potter is flying for Gryffindor, according to which broomstick the firebolt's going to the broom of choice for the national teams at this year's World Championship. Jordan, would you mind telling us what's going on in the match?" interrupted Professor McGonagall's voice. Right you are, Professor. Just giving a bit of background information. The firebolt, incidentally, has a built-in auto brake, and Jordan, okay. Gryffindor in possession. Katie Bell of Gryffindor heading for goal. Harry streaked past Katie in the opposite direction, gazing around for a glint of gold and noticing that Cho Chang was tailing him closely. She was undoubtedly a very good flyer. She kept cutting across him, forcing him to change direction. I haven't read the books from 3 to 7. I had no idea Cho and Cedric were Quidditch players. Me neither. Fred yelled. "Show me your acceleration, Harry!" Fred yelled as he whooshed past in pursuit of a bludger that was aiming for Alicia. Harry urged the firebolt forward as they rounded the Ravenclaw goalpost, and Cho fell behind. Just as Katie succeeded in scoring the first goal of the match and the Gryffindor end of the pitch went wild, he saw it. The snitch was close to the ground, flitting near one of the barriers. Harry dived. Cho saw what he was doing and tore after him. Harry was speeding up, excitement flooding him. Dives were his speciality. He was 10 feet away. Then a bludger, hit by one of the Ravenclaw beaters, came pelting out of nowhere. Harry veered off course, avoiding it by an inch. What is he doing? I put a blanket underneath to just like raise him a bit so he could see more of him. Now he's just like on the blanket. Well, I'll leave him be for a little bit. Harry veered off course, avoiding it by an inch, and in those few crucial seconds, the snitch had vanished. There was a great "oh" of disappointment from the Gryffindor supporters, but much applause for their beater from the Ravenclaw end. George Weasley vented his feelings by hitting the second bludger directly at the offending beater, who was forced to roll right over in midair to avoid it. Who's saying? Gryffindor led by 80 points to 0, and look at that firebolt go. Potter's really putting it through its paces now. See it turn? Chang's Comet is just no match for it. The fireball's precision's balance is really noticing in these long... Jordan, are you being paid to advertise firebolts? Get on with the commentary. She's just so pissed. Gryffindor are pulling back. They had now scored 3 goals, which put Gryffindor on only 50 points ahead. If Cho got the snitch before him, Ravenclaw would win. Harry dropped lower, narrowly avoiding a Ravenclaw chaser, scanning the pitch frantically. A glint of gold, a flutter of tiny wings. The snitch was circling the Gryffindor goalpost. Harry accelerated, eye fixed on the speck of gold ahead, but next second, Cho had appeared out of thin air, blocking him. "Harry, this is no time to be a gentleman!" Woods roared as Harry swerved to avoid a collision. "Knock her off her broom if you have to!" Harry turned and caught sight of Cho. She was grinning. The snitch had vanished again. Harry turned his firebolt upwards and was soon 20 feet above the game. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Cho following him. She decided to mark him rather than search for the snitch herself. She is clever. Right then, if she wanted to tail him, she'd have to take the consequences. He dived again, and Cho, thinking he'd seen the snitch, tried to follow. Harry pulled out of the dive very sharply. She hurtled downwards. He rose fast as a bullet once more, and then saw it, for the third time. The snitch was glittering way above the pitch at the Ravenclaw end. He accelerated. So many feet below did Cho. He was winning, gaining on the snitch with every second. Then, "Oh! Oh!" screamed Chen, pointing. By the way, Cho is going to come up again, so give me some adjectives for her personality. Yeah. Distracted, Harry looked down. 3 Dementors, 3 tall, black, hooded Dementors were looking up at him. He didn't stop to think. Plunging a hand down the neck of his robes, he whipped out his hand and roared, "Expecto Patronum!" Something silver-white, something enormous, erupted from the end of his wand. He knew it had shot directly at the Dementors, but didn't stop to watch. His mind still miraculously clear, he looked ahead. He was nearly there. Very sweet, Scottish, nice, shy. Okay. 1 second, sorry. There we go. He stretched out the hand, still grasping his wand, and just managed to close his fingers over the small, struggling snitch. Oh, he did it! Whoa! Wow, that's a pretty sweet move, Harry. It was just so smooth. Wow. That was less hurdles overcome than I thought he would. Wow, okay. I'm just surprised that it's over so soon. He's like, "Get out of here! Gotcha!" Madame Hooch's whistle sounded. Harry turned around in midair and saw 6 scarlet blurs bearing down on him. Next moment, the whole team were hugging him, so hard he was nearly pulled off his broom. Down below, he could hear the roars of the Gryffindors in the crowd. "You sound so disappointed." Well, I am in a way. I thought there was going to be some more crazy action or something. "That's my boy!" Wood kept yelling. Alicia, Angelina, and Katie had all kissed Harry. And Fred had him in a grip so tight Harry felt as though his head would come off. In complete disarray, the team managed to make its way back to the ground. Harry got off his broom and looked up to see a gaggle of Gryffindor supporters sprinting onto the pitch, Ron in the lead. Before he knew it, he had been engulfed by the cheering crowd. "Yes!" Ron yelled, yanking Harry's arm into the air. "Yes! Yes!" "Well done, Harry," said Percy, looking delighted. 10 galleons to me. Must find Penelope. Excuse me. Good on you, Harry, roared Seamus Finnegan. "Ruddy, brilliant!" boomed Hagrid over the heads of the milling Gryffindors. Somebody in India, "That was quite some Patronus," said a voice in Harry's ear. Harry turned around to see Professor Lupin, who looked both shaken and pleased. "The Dementors didn't affect me at all," Harry said excitedly. "I didn't feel a thing." That would be because they weren't Dementors," said Professor Lupin. "Come and see." He led Harry out of the crowd until they were able to see the edge of the pitch. "You gave Mr. Malfoy quite a fright," said Lupin. Oh. Wow. Okay. Mr. Douchenoggins came on with his 2 friends. Oh, wow. You gave Mr. Malfoy quite a fright. Harry stared, lying in a crumpled heap on the ground were Malfoy, Crabbe, Goyle, and Marcus Flint, the Slytherin team captain, all struggling to remove themselves from long, black, hooded robes. That's poorly thought out. It looked as though because Dumbledore could have come on and smashed them to smithereens. It looked as though Malfoy had been standing on Goyelle's shoulders. Standing over them with an expression of the utmost fury on her face was Professor McGonagall. "An unworthy trick," she was shouting. "A low and cowardly attempt to sabotage the Gryffindor Seeker. Detention for all of you and 50 points from Slytherin. I shall be speaking to Professor Dumbledore about this. Make no mistake. Here he comes now." If anything could have set the seal on Gryffindor's victory, it was this. Ron, who had fought his way through to Harry's side, doubled up with laughter as they watched Malfoy fighting to extricate himself from the robe, Goyelle's head still stuck inside it. "Come on, Harry," said George, finding his way over. "Party! Gryffindor common room, now!" "Right," said Harry, and feeling happier than he had done in ages, he and the rest of the team led the way, still in their scarlet robes, out of the stadium and back up to the castle. Yeah, that was a good Quidditch round. I'd agree, Lissy on the coast. Very, very fun. That was a really dumb move. Like, did they not expect the teachers to give them detention and points off, or maybe even say that was unfair and hand it back over to Gryffindor? It was a dumb move on their part. Another question for you. What are the dumbest lyrics you've ever heard in a song? What's the dumbest lyrics you've heard? It felt as though they had already won the Quidditch Cup. The party went on all day and well into the night. Fred and George Weasley disappeared for a couple of hours and returned with armfuls of bottles of butterbeer, pumpkin fizz, and several bags full of honeydew sweets. So I'm assuming butterbeer is like ginger, just non-alcoholic. Imagine all these kids, like all the teachers, like that's fine. These kids like, okay, tomorrow we've got Snape's class. We better not get too drunk tonight. Anyways, you guys want to play Truth or Dare? Angelina Johnson. "How did you do that?" squealed Angelina Johnson as George started throwing peppermint toads into the crowd. With a little help from Moony, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs, Fred muttered in Harry's ear. Only one person wasn't joining in the festivities. Hermione, incredibly, was sitting in a corner and attempting to read an enormous book entitled Home Life and Social Habits of British Muggles. Harry broke away from the table where Fred and George had started juggling butterbeer bottles and went over to her. "Did you even come to watch the match?" he asked her. "Of course I did," said Hermione, in a strangely high-pitched voice, not looking up. "And I'm very glad we won, and I think you did really well. But I need to read this by Monday." "Come on, Hermione. Come and have some food," Harry said, looking over at Ron and wondering whether he was in a good enough mood to bury the hatchet. I can't, Harry. I've still got 420 pages to read," said Hermione, now sounding slightly hysterical. "Anyway," she glanced over at Ron too. "He doesn't want me to join in." There was no arguing with this, as Ron chose that moment to say loudly, If Scabbers hadn't just been eaten, he could have had some of these fudge flies. He used to really like them." Shapoopy. Oh yeah, that song's so good. It's cream soda or butterscotch, ginger, I think. Yeah, that's what I thought so too, but just thought it'd be funny if it was actually. Hey, Dexy. Maybe I should remove it. Maybe he just likes the blanket more. It seems so. Come over here. Yeah, lie on the blanket. Have a little lie down, huh, buddy? Huh? I'm bothering him. I'm bugging him. There we go. Yeah, he just likes the blanket. Hermione burst into tears. Oh. Before Harry could say or do anything, she had tucked the enormous book under her arm, and still sobbing, run towards the staircase to the girls' dormitories and out of sight. "Can't you give her a break?" Harry asked Ron quietly. "No," said Ron flatly. "If she just acted like she was sorry, but she'll never admit it, she's wrong, Hermione. She's still acting like Scabbers had gone on holiday or something." The Gryffindor party only ended when Professor McGonagall turned up in her tartan dressing gown and hairnet at 1 a.m. to insist that they all went to bed. Harry and Ron climbed the stairs to their dormitory, still discussing the match. At last, exhausted, Harry climbed into bed, twitched the hangings of his 4-poster shut to block out a ray of moonlight, lay back, and felt himself almost instantly drifting off to sleep. I'm sorry, my eyes are kind of drifting. Like I see big letters on the page, so I can see a screen coming up. So I'm gonna switch over to some other music. I'm gonna think ahead. Let's see here. He had a very strange dream. He was walking through a forest, his firebolt over his shoulder, following something silvery white. It was winding its way through the trees ahead, and he could only catch glimpses of it between the leaves. Anxious to catch up to it, he sped up, but as he moved faster, so did his quarry. Harry broke into a run, and ahead he heard hooves gathering speed. Now he was running flat out, and ahead he could hear galloping. Then he turned a corner into a clearing, and... Okay, who's got a scream? So some scream. Ah, no! Harry woke as suddenly as though he'd been hit in the face. Disoriented in the total darkness, he fumbled with his hangings. He could hear movements around him, and Shane Finnegan's voice from the other side of the room. What's going on? Harry thought he heard the dormitory doors slam. At last, finding the divide in his corners, he ripped them back, and at the same moment, Dean Thomas lit his lamp. Ron was sitting up in his bed, the hangings torn from one side, a look of the utmost terror on his face. Black! Sirius Black! With a knife! What? Here! Just now! Slashed the curtains! Woke me up! You sure you weren't dreaming, Ron? Said Dean. Look at the curtains! I tell you, he was here. Oh, man! Knifey guy in the room when you sleep. Oh! They all scrambled out of bed. Harry reached the dormitory door first, and they sprinted back down the staircase. Doors opened behind them, and sleepy voices called after them. Who shouted? What are you doing? The common room was lit by the glow of the dying fire, still littered with debris from the party. It was deserted. Are you sure you weren't dreaming, Ron? I'm telling you, I saw him. What's all the noise? Professor McGonagall told us to go to bed. A few of the girls had come down to the staircase, pulling on dressing gowns and yawning. Boys, too, were reappearing. Excellent. Are we carrying on? Said Fred Weasley brightly. Everyone back upstairs, said Percy, hurrying up into the common room and pinning his head boy badge to his pajamas as he spoke. Sirius Black, said Ron faintly, in our dormitory with a knife. Woke me up. The common room went very still. Nonsense, said Percy, looking startled. You had too much to eat, Ron. Had a nightmare. I'm telling you. Now, really, enough's enough. Professor McGonagall was back. She slammed the portrait behind her as she entered the common room and stared ferociously around. I am delighted that Gryffindor won the match, but this is getting ridiculous. Percy, I expected better of you. I certainly didn't authorize this, Professor, said Percy, puffing himself indignantly. I was just telling them all to get back to bed. My brother Ron here had a nightmare. It wasn't a nightmare, Ron yelled. Professor, I woke up and Sirius Black was standing over me holding a knife. Professor McGonagall stared at him. Don't be ridiculous, Weasley. How could he have possibly have gotten through the portrait hole? Ask him, said Ron, pointing a shaking finger at the back of Sir Cadogan's picture. Ask him if he saw. Glaring suspiciously at Ron, Professor McGonagall pushed the portrait back open and went outside. The whole common room listened with bated breath. Sir Cadogan, did you just let a man enter Gryffindor Tower? Certainly, good lady, cried Sir Cadogan. Oh no. Oh, he's everywhere now. Shoot. There was a stunned silence, both inside and outside the common room. You did? Said Professor McGonagall. But the password. He had them, said Sir Cadogan proudly. At the whole week's, my lady. Read 'em off a little piece of paper. Oh no. Somebody gave him. Professor McGonagall pulled herself back through the portrait hole to face the stunned crowd. She was as white as chalk. Which person, she said in a voice shaking, which abysmally foolish person wrote down this week's passwords and left them lying around? There was utter silence, broken by the smallest of terrified squeaks. Neville Longbottom, trembling from head to fluffy, slippered toes, raised his hand slowly into the air.
Dingus.
Neville! Neville, what are you doing? What are you doing endangering your friends like this? Oh, man. Am I going to go longer? How much for the next book? Next page. Next chapter is 14 pages. That's a long time. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to end now. I was tempted to go longer, but I'm going to end now. Where did the pages... I don't know where they went. Okay. Yeah, it was crazy. That's a really good chapter. Sirius Black is in. He is gonna kill, no matter what. What are your thoughts about... Well, you already know the book, so I'm not gonna ask you your thoughts on what's happening. It's just such a stupid question. There you go. Dexter's revealing himself. Any questions or... yeah, about my thoughts, I guess, on it. Let's see, what are people writing here? Please, sir, we'd like some more. How much is left in the book? About... We got a good third still. A good third left. So, yeah. Good third left. I can't believe we're going to do... I'm planning on doing all 7 books, and I feel like this is going quickly. The third book already, that's pretty damn quick.
Yeah.
We have a question. Did you match Dex on purpose? Not today. I guess we do match today. This will be our 70s party look once I have much again. How much left in the book? A third. What kind of dog is Dexter? He's a miniature poodle. He's the size of a toy poodle because he's the runt of the litter. So he's actually much smaller than miniature poodles. But yeah, miniature poodle. Why do you think he was standing over Ron with a knife? Probably cutting him some bread or something. I don't know. I mean, why would he slash curtains instead of Ron or Harry? Why would he do that? I don't know. It's mysterious to me. How much are you like this book? I'm sure you meant to write liking, but I'm going to answer that. How much am I like this book? I'm thrilling, so 100%. It's so stupid. I like the book a lot. It's probably my favorite one till now. Which character would you like to play in Tiger King? Oh, good question.
Carol Baskin.
I think Carol Baskins would be the funnest to play, for sure. She'd be so much fun to play. Oh, Dexter actually reminds me of my aunt's dog that passed away, and I love it. Oh, I'm sorry about your aunt's dog. But yeah, he brings me a lot of joy too. Just lying there waiting for some pets. I think they meant, how similar are you to this book? Yeah, that's what I meant too. There's another question down here. Are you going to watch all the movies after you've done the books? Yes, that's the plan. I'm going to see if I can live stream it, but I'm going to watch them after the books, not anywhere in between, because I want, don't want them to impress upon me all the characters and try and match it for some reason. It would take me a long time, but would you like a blanket? I won't say no to it. Yeah, thank you. I would love a blanket. Amazing what you can accomplish when you do something for an hour every day. Yeah, true. You know, maybe 10,000 hours, then I'll be an expert in Harry Potter reading. I think they meant how similar are you to this book. Oh, I already read that one. Okay, got a minute 23 remaining. Before we end, don't forget to applaud your nurses. Clap for your nurses. Give them applause at 7 o'clock. Follow Mark at yoc.creations. Follow the company I'm part of, Cave Cannon Productions, for some fun music videos and other things that we've done. And follow my brother, Mike Voth, 1984. How do you think Sirius disappeared from the dormitory after slashing the curtains? He didn't. Of course he didn't. He's still hiding somewhere, and they're going to search for him probably now. He's probably one of the alleyways that Harry knows of. 45 seconds remaining. Got to make a name pronouncing. Yeah, and messing up my name pronunciation. Okay, thank you, everybody. I will see you tomorrow again at 6 p.m. Have a lovely evening. Oh, and I didn't say it before, but you have value, you have meaning and purpose, and you are loved. Do not forget that. Thank you very much. I will see you tomorrow. Bye.